I have what is called an AV fistula on my right leg. So I do know what it's like to be gawked at, to be ridiculed, to be looked at, to be ill, and all these things. Like, I remember back in the day, they used to say I had a super leg, which was funny. Now that I think about it, it was funny, but kids can be cruel at times.
Right.
And that really dampened my self-esteem and my confidence going through life.
Welcome back to the podcast. I started this podcast as a way to help Black men in all aspects of our lives. Studies show on average we lose 2.8 years of our life when we're under heavy stress. And I think we can gain those 2.8 years back if we express ourselves healthily. Stick with me as I interview therapists, doctors, advocates, activists, and friends about how we can be better as Black men and as a Black community. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube and following us on Instagram and TikTok, you'll definitely want to do that. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right, y'all. I'm here with Jamiel. He's a author and autism educator. Jamiel, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, man? Glad to be here. Blessed to be here, actually.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And so can you tell me a little bit about how you got into autism advocacy and education? Because I feel like in the Black community, this is something that we don't really see talked about at all, let alone by Black men. You get what I'm saying? So please tell me the story about how you got into this.
Well, you know what? It was just to a point where I was just tired, tired of not being heard, tired of being misrepresented when it comes down to being and what I call an awesome father, hence the awesome show. I wanted the voice of not only my son and children just like him to be exposed to the world, but also, just like you said, men, myself, or the Black and brown community, for us to be able to be heard and explored and understood, and what our perceptions was of autism and our feelings and everything else that's going on in the world. I didn't have that. So, talking about generational curses and breaking certain things, it was very important for me to actually do that and to start that with my son. So I made that a goal of mine, just to be able to speak out, but also it empowered me, with putting myself out there more. Is like, okay, you know what? I can do this. I can actually be that voice for people. So it was really an all around therapeutic aspect to help me personally, but also being able to give back to others in the autism community, and just speaking to men and for men and to men just outside of the autism community. So it's been a good journey, rough, but a blessed journey.
Absolutely, man. And speaking about rough, so we were talking in the precursor to the show about your journey to like autism advocacy and like your new marriage and all that. So can you please like give us a little background of like who you are and like kind of what led up to this?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to make it brief as possible, but it's a lot to unpack here. And I think with me touching on a lot of different points it's really going to hit home for someone who's going to be listening to this, whether you're male or female, you're in a partnership, you're married, whatever the case may be. So, born in Houston, Texas, was immediately flown up to Philadelphia. So really, North Philly representative, 17th and Susquehanna. That's where I grew up at. And that's where I really learned what the street was like, how the world was, what it could be to be so cold, but also too, I learned the most about community and love from that particular area too. Me, I actually am born with a disability myself. I have what is called an AV fistula on my right leg. So I do know what it's like to be gawked at, to be ridiculed, to be looked at, to be ill, and all these things. Like, I remember back in the day, they used to say I had a super leg, which was funny. Now that I think about it, it was funny, but kids can be cruel at times.
Right.
And that really dampened my self-esteem and my confidence going through life. I had, a single parent home. My dad was not in the picture, just as a lot of different households, unfortunately. And it was my mom. She was raising me. She was raising, a little bit later on was my son, my youngest brother, but it was me. I was the only child. And, she was raising a man in this society. And that was like my best friend. She was literally my best friend. She would defend me, but she also, discipline me at the same token. And she taught me how to actually be a self-sufficient man. First off, be able to take care of a household, but two, also be able to feel. That's the
Mhm.
most important thing. Be able to express myself, which is very hard for us men, especially for us men in the Black and brown communities, whereas though we have to put that wall, that guard up to be able to be that alpha male. When we go and get into that alpha male uh, quotation a little bit more further
Mhm.
in the interview,
Mhm.
uh, unfortunately, due to mental issues of schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, my mom, um, she became lucid in her imagination, hence the schizophrenia. And I was basically on my own at the age of 16.
Mm.
This hurt because this was my best friend. This was my mom, the woman that birthed me, that raised me. That was like my best friend, my go-to. It really put a very, very damping taste in my mouth about the world and society. I began to blame everybody else for what was happening to my mom. Yo, this is your fault. This is your fault. This is your fault. And I watched her deteriorate in front of me. She was homeless on the streets for years. I did
Mhm.
not know where my mom was at. My little brother was born shortly became before I became on my own at the age of 16. And she would basically travel all around the state with my brother. No one would know where they were actually at.
Mhm.
Fast forward a little bit from that, my mom was arrested and she was put in prison several times, put in prison, back out. My brother went with my grandma, lived with her. My grandma took care of him and got him through school and everything like that. But it was still eating me inside. I mean,
Mhm.
imagine this, and this is a true story: hanging out with your friends and being around away, and we sitting there walking down the street and we see somebody homeless and we like, yo, man, she looking messed up over there. And you look and that's your mom. That
Yo.
actually that actually happened. I actually saw my mom on the street pushing a cart and we were clowning her because I didn't physically see what her face was at first. That was wrong. First off, that was wrong to actually do. But then it was like, yo, that's my mom. Like I had to literally hang my head low in shame, which I shouldn't have been ashamed of, but in shame and go over there and talk to my mom. And it really played a little bit on, my insecurities already that I had previously as a child. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2014 due to stage 4 cancer. Once again, like I said, she was in and out of facilities. We didn't know where she was at living on the streets because of the schizophrenia. And I was able to spend the last 3 months with her, the last 3 months of her life. Every day I was in the hospital facility on down to, just the care unit, just to make sure hospice, to make sure that she was comfortable. And
Right.
I got to understand and grow with my mother more in that little bit of time than I ever did in the 16 years that I was with her. It was amazing. We dropped all, baggage, all the hatred, the anger. I'll be real, my heart got softer. I
Mhm.
didn't care about anybody else or anything that was going on in the world. Anything to hurt me was just to focus on my mom. And the most important thing before she left me two gems. One I have on the wall, which is her last letter that she wrote. She speaks about love, which is actually in my upcoming book. I actually put her letter in a poetry form that's going to be in there. And
Mhm.
then she dedicated herself to the Lord, which was very
Mm.
important for me to see before she passes. And it made me give a sense of just relief, knowing that she knows who her maker was, and that she will be okay, and that I will be okay. That really hurt though. Burying your mom, and it was very, very hard. And it played a lot on my mental health as well, because I started to really just think that I was alone, that nobody else was out there for me, not even family.
Mhm.
So fast forward from this, in the midst of all this, I had a son. I had
Right.
a son. Just being out in the streets and just really growing up myself, I had a son, and his name is Shane, 13 years old. I can't believe he's 13 years old, but
Mhm.
an amazing boy. And he's on the autism spectrum. And
Mhm.
the key note about that is that when I heard that, in the midst of everything that I was mentioning just now to you, me running away from it, that was sort of like the tipping point for me. Now, don't
Mhm.
get me wrong, by me saying that, I don't want people to be like, oh, well, autism makes fathers run away. Yes and no. We run away, ladies and gentlemen, because we are weak. We are not real men. Real men express their feelings. They understand that they have these feelings and they seek ways to get them out. That's what
Mhm.
makes us weak, not being able to do so. So, yes, I was a weak man, but the situations that I was in, as far as everything in the world, I needed to handle them first. I recognized that I needed to, but I did it in an immature manner. And that was to go out partying, to talk to other women while I was married. So many different pieces and different aspects. That's not the right way to go. Whereas though I was failing my partner and then my son at the same time, trying to understand what they needed at the time. So, from that, it was just a lot of ups and downs. It wasn't no consistent stability in my life. And we often wonder as people is like, okay, well, why is this happening? Why is this happening? It's always consequences to your actions. My actions were never to preserve the positive aspects of my life or to make me grow. It was always something about me being selfish. Oh, well, you know what? I'm gonna go talk to this girl and get my angers and frustration off on her, me being selfish. Not understanding that she may have some things she may need to be loved and poured into a little bit more. So I never understood why I was always getting the raw end of the stick. So it came down to just one day where I lost my car, I lost my job. I just got a new job and I was about to lose my apartment. And I just got on my knees and I remember crying. And I was like, I can't do this, God. I can't do this. I can't do this. I even one point prior to that, it was I attempted suicide. And, we can unpack that and talk about that a little bit more, just thinking that you're all alone and you're really not. But back to this, I cried and I remember my son coming out the room and just giving me a hug out of nowhere. And I looked at him differently. And I was like, all these years where I was just focusing on the I part, why is this affecting me? God, why me? This is not fair to me. I had the answer right in front of me. I needed to understand the true love that God has for me, and he was giving it through my son. So at that point, I just broke all the curses that I was having, the generational curses that I was having, angry at people, wanting to use women, wanting to use alcohol, wanting to just get ahead and not help others. I just broke all that. And I just really focused on understanding who my son was as an individual with autism, and also understanding other individuals that were just like him. But that didn't stop there. I had it in my heart to be able to speak out to other men because I didn't have that. I had boys, I had friends, I had people around, but they weren't pouring into me. They was just giving me something that was just a subtle fix, something that would just lay over until the next morning when I woke up after that hangover. It wasn't a Band-Aid, a everlasting Band-Aid, and that's what I needed. So instead of me sitting there just being another follower, I just decided to be another leader. So, what I'm doing today, advocating for those individuals, especially fathers, speaking to them, for children with special needs, the importance of being there, being present, especially in the Black and brown communities where autism prevalence is at an all-time high. We don't like to talk about it, but we need to. But most importantly, other than that, a spiritual grounding. You need this. Everybody needs this in order for you to understand your worth, and that what people judge you by is not your actual worth. You need a spiritual grounding. I push them in towards that. Amongst that, I'm a volunteer firefighter where I live at, which is the suburbs of Philadelphia right now. EMT student. I'm an author, just like you said. I have my book right here. This is my first book that's on Amazon. My second book is about to come out also on Amazon too. I'm doing a lot of things. And you know why I'm doing it? Is because I'm putting others before it,
Right. And man, that's such a powerful story, man. Thank you so much for breaking that down, because I know that spoke to someone listening. And my question is, how has having a son with autism impacted your growth as a man and a father? Because you talked about it a little bit, but can you just break that down for the people listening?
I was never a man before I understood the love my son showed me. Let me break that down. I physically look like a man. I physically put myself in situations where as though I was deemed a man, but I wasn't a man because I was jaded in a point where I would never show anybody my true feelings. I would never express myself. I would never be able to share with others what my deepest regrets are, what my fears were. These are things that actually make you an alpha male, that man. And I wasn't doing that until I started to understand who my son was, what type of love they were given, which is the basic love, the empathy, the compassion. And once I started to just absorb that and find that in my own heart and recognize that, my son was a gift to me and not a curse, he was a blessing. That was the turning point in my life. That's when I opened my eyes and I was like, Listen, I'm an autism father, and this is amazing because I'm going to be able to give the world so much love, pure, unadulterated love, something that the world is missing right now. I'm able to give that love out and hopefully make a mark on this planet before I leave here. And that mark is, community leader, activist, advocate. These are the things that I want to be left on my tombstone, if anything. It this is my purpose. If I had to say, somebody, you asked me that question, you'd be like, yo, well, how do you know? Like, how do you feel? What is it about this? This is my purpose. That feel good when you do something, you're just like, yeah, that was the right move for me. I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I pushed myself. This was definitely in my cards, and I couldn't see it earlier. So, this is something right now. It's me. I'm an advocate. I realized this, that one day that God has more in store for me. Right. And it's not even about me. It's about using my voice. It's about using my physical appearance. It's about using my experience with my son, what I'm going through right now, everything to preserve someone else's life so they won't pull that trigger, so they won't put that needle in their arm. It's for the blessing of others.
Right, man. And I love that because I think some of the best platforms, services, resources, communities are always created as a result of someone like you having a purpose or walking in their purpose, right? That's why I try to tell people, like, do what makes you happy and not necessarily happy. Do what you find that you're passionate about. And like, I can tell when I talk to you, and I know anybody else that's listening, like, you can hear and feel the passion. I always tell people that passion is felt. You don't need to, you don't need to have a long conversation with somebody to tell when they're passionate about something. You are definitely passionate about this, bro. I can feel it because I know this is how I talk about Black men, right? Like when I'm talking to my girl and I see somebody make a stupid comment, excuse me, y'all, but when I see somebody make a dumb comment, I'm just like, bro, you messing up what I'm trying to build right now. But I'm getting that frustrated and that mad because it's like, bro, I actually care about what I'm doing. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of people that get on Instagram, social media, that have these platforms, that have these websites, all these different things that don't really care about what they're doing. It's really just about the bottom line for them. It's not about the bottom line for me. Like, I put a lot of capital into expressing myself Black, man. Like, and I make some profit off of it, but I'm definitely not living and eating off of it. You get what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't living and eating off of it last year at all, to be honest, up until probably just like December, right? Exactly. So people have to understand, like, yo, do what you find that you're passionate about and walk in your purpose and in your path, man. I talk to a lot of people that are successful or somewhat successful or getting to that point, and that's one thing that I find often is that they walk in their purpose and they understand what they've been put on this earth to do, and they do that exceedingly well, man. So I just want to applaud you just for what you're doing, because you're the first person, and honestly the only person, that I've seen in the Black community in general, outside of like therapists that talk about it here and there, that talks about like autism and what it looks like, man. Thanks, so thank you for what you do, bro. For real.
No problem, man. Thank you for what you do, man. Like, your platform is monumental. You may not know this now, and that's the whole factor with your purpose, is that everything you do, the grinding that you do right now, 90% of the time you don't see it. You see it 10 years from now. You know what I mean? Similar to when you invest money and you sitting there and you want a good return. And what do investors tell you? Oh, you're not going to see that return right away. You're going to have to wait. To keep on invested and have some other business moves. You're not going to see that return, but I see the return that you're doing right now. And that's in the people and the lives that you're touching, the thoughts that you're provoking for people. Like I said, somebody's going to listen to this, listen to your previous episodes, everything you do, and they put that gun down.
Right.
That gun was right there. They put that gun down and said, you know what? I need to be here for another day,
Right. Man, thank you so much for that, man. And yo, so I wanted to ask you, what are some of the things that you feel like in our community are like plaguing like our knowledge when it comes to autism, or like some stigmas that we have when it comes to autism? Because I know some off the top of my head. Like, the first one that I think about is that Black people don't get autism. That's the first thing that I think about, right? Just off the, you know what I'm saying? Like, because it's funny how the media works, right? Like, in media, just in general, we always see autism as like something that white people get, like, or white babies get, right? Like, I don't even think I've seen
a black person that like black like me, you know, like dark skin like me that has autism. You know what I'm saying? Like I think at one point in time I was curious and I probably Googled it just to see, and probably that's where I saw it. But like in person, like I never actually seen that. So what are some of the things that you feel like are stigmas around autism in the black community? And also how do we combat that? Because we need to.
Well, it's interesting because an organization called Philly Autism, which is through Drexel University, shout out to them guys. I actually was one of the speakers, what was it, 2 years ago? It was my first speaking engagement gig. And they came to me and was like, we would like you on your panel. They just came out with a census for the Philadelphia population, and apologize to everybody, but you can go onto Philly Autism's website and look at the numbers. But I do believe for the Black and brown communities, it's at a 16% overall within the Philadelphia area. That's a very high percentage. Now, saying that, coming from the Black and brown communities, you know, we always used to have that Dutta man or that Rain Man or that person that just had something different about them. But we clown them, but we also make them feel like they're family for what they have. We don't really look at that. This is wrong for our children that are on the spectrum. And I'm gonna just explain to you why. When it comes down to autism, the prevalence and the diagnosis, there is a small window. The window normally typically is from ages newborn to the age of 3. A diagnosis needs to actually be made. The importance of this is because just like any kid who is quote unquote normal, children are sponges. They absorb everything that they come in contact with, everything that you say, you do, they are constantly watching. If there is a child that is on the spectrum, there is a disconnect somewhere, or somewhere where their growth for later on can be highly affected. This is the reason why it is very important to get your child evaluated. We have to, and I'm speaking as the Black and brown community, have to stop clowning people and actually find out what's going on with our children or individuals in our community. We have to. I understand. I don't have a PhD. You're looking at somebody that actually dropped out of school. I'm gonna tell you, like I had to drop out of school, Central High School, because of this situation with my mother. I was 1 year shy of graduating. So I'm not that smart. I'm not the best. I mean, I'm not that dumb. I'm not smart, but I'm not that dumb. But what we do is we fear things that we don't understand. So what we do is we place a temporary Band-Aid on it just to cover it up, just so society can kind of just bypass what they may see, the imperfections. Everybody here is imperfect. There's nobody here that's perfect. We have to step up in the Black and brown communities. I am begging you to please get your children evaluated. If there is a family member in your family that may be past that 3-year-old threshold, that is fine. Get them evaluated. It doesn't matter. It just mattered that we understand our people. We understand our family members, what's going on with them, how we can help them. And time is the essence. Now, for the general, broader aspect of it, that's for Asian, Caucasian, Hispanic, because autism doesn't know a color. It's all across the spectrum. It's all across everywhere in the world. Doesn't matter if you're rich, you're poor. It doesn't matter. It affects everybody. Get your child tested. There is a disadvantage that you are doing by trying to hide your child's ability. Autism is not a disability. No child with a physical disability should think of it as that. It's ability. It's the reason why God put you on this planet as different. You know, look at what's his name? Johnson, Icky Johnson, I believe.
Oh yeah, Inky Johnson
with the arm.
Yeah, I know him, the motivational speaker. Yeah,
come on, like you see how he talks to people, and you would subconsciously stop looking at his arm because his words are so powerful that he's fueling you with not his visual looks, but with his voice, with his knowledge, with his heart. He's giving you the tools to focus on what needs to be taken care of right then and now. So your child is never, never, never in a disadvantage. They have an ability, a superpower, I like to call it, that most people don't have. It is important, though, that we get these child the possibility to get their CAPE. And how can they get their CAPE? Is by us taking them down to the doctor's office saying, hey, my child is exhibiting some behaviors that are questionable. Can we get them evaluated? And I understand, because when my son was first diagnosed with autism, sitting behind a desk with somebody that had a suit and tie, PhD behind their name, was very intimidating, especially for me, for a male in the Black and brown community, because I'm already being stereotyped in life. I don't need another stereotype for me, but yet alone my son. No, I don't want to do that. We have to swallow that pride and that ego. We have to sit there and push forward and get our children diagnosed. So please, I'm begging you, if by the end of this, with all my contact information on here, if you need help with diagnosis, I will even go with you to the appointment. I'm local. I will go with you. Like, men, I will go there, sit with you, meet up with you, so we could chop it up and talk about my experiences. This is how much I'm really, really in tune with this. This means a lot to me.
Nah, absolutely, man. I appreciate that. So just for those people that are still a little wary about it, what does the test normally look like? Do you know? Like, what do they actually do?
So it's crazy, because the job that I work now, my full-time job, is actually the building where my son got tested is actually one of the buildings that I overwatch. Okay. So it was like walking down memory lane going in there. What they're going to do is they're going to test their reactive status when it comes to certain cues, whether it be social, whether it be directional cues. It's just going to be a room with that therapist or doctor and the child. They're going to tell you you're going to have to sit outside the room. You're going to be in the waiting area. They have a scaling system of questions, different things that they want to point out to the child, which are on a national average of where they should be at cognitively, and also in range of motion, what they can do with their body, with their arms, everything like that. Once they come out with that evaluation, they're going to come out and they're going to sit mom and dad, or mom or dad, in the office with just the physician and the parents or parent, and they're going to basically give you the results from that evaluation. What I would like to add now is that back in the day where my son was evaluated, the physicians didn't have a lot of compassion as they do right now. So shout out to a lot of the physicians for really understanding that we are in this together to try to understand what's going on with autism, and knowing that just giving somebody, hey, your son or daughter has autism, here goes some paperwork, good luck. We need a lot more support coming from the physicians themselves. So I do want to applaud the physicians, a lot of medical staff that are actually taking the time out to really talk to the parents about why they came up with this conclusion, what resources possibly they could actually seek if they have any questions, how the parents are, they're taking their time out to ask those questions. But that's really the process with that. After you do that, you have this piece of paper in your hand, very important piece of paper that says, hey, my child needs help. We all need help. We're imperfect people. We all need help. We just have something in our hands. Now a parent can take this to state insurance. I believe is Medicaid that they can actually get. It's a subsidiary insurance. So let's just say mom and dad is working a job and they have their child covered under insurance. Now you can get secondary insurance by state, because they have a physical ailment, as they will call it. So they will be covered by secondary insurance. But there's also other programs that the child is qualified for now with that paperwork. APA therapy, which is very controversial right now. We can go, that's a whole nother topic, but it still works. It is proven to work. OT therapy, which is occupational therapy, speech, food programs. The list can go on and on and on, but you can't get nothing without that paper. Right. That's the one thing, you can't get nothing without that paper. So if you get your child in school and they're not learning and the teacher is frustrated, you're like, no, my child has autism. I know what they do. Oh, they do? Okay. Well, what's up with the paperwork? Oh, but I never got them, evaluated. Mom and dad, you're not doing a child injustice. Right. I mean, you're doing a child injustice, because the school has nothing to go by. Right. Then we can't get into the IEP, which is the individualized education program. It's a structure holding the school accountable and also holding yourself accountable for where your child needs to be at educational wise and socially throughout the years in school. You can't get that without a diagnosis. It's a lot of information. I know people are sitting here like, what? so many acronyms, so many acronyms, and I'm still learning so much more. But those are the base foundations. Get them tested, get that paperwork, have a ground to start from. Okay, are they on the spectrum? Yes or no? Now we know where to go from that point.
No, absolutely. And I love that you broke that down that way, man. I know a lot of people are going to need that. And I was honestly curious about what the process was. So I know this is good information just for me. So anybody listening that may have someone that has a kid that may have autism or is like, could be exhibiting some of the signs, let them know, like, yo, go get them tested, because if they do, it's better for you guys to know, so you know how to plan. And if they don't, then you know where to go from there, right? Like that's really beautifully said, man. I appreciate that. And when we were talking during the preliminary conversation before the episode, we were talking about like your religious background and like your grounding. And you mentioned that a little bit here. Can you break that down a little bit more? Because that's something that I hear a lot with people that have suffered from like depression or suicidal ideations, like turning over to God and having some kind of faith has been big for them. So can you tell me how that impacted you and how that helped you throughout your journey?
So it is very important in my journey. I'm a Christian. I'm not promoting that somebody go to Christianity. I'm promoting that you have a spiritual grounding, whatever that may be. Right. I've studied so many different religions, and I can tell you every one of these religions practice one thing in common, amongst other things, but the most pertinent thing in common is love, compassion for others. They all do. I believe, and this is by experience and also just thinking and just processing everything that's going on around us in the world, is that you are not going to be a centered human being without having a accountability from a higher being.
I love that.
We often don't want to do that because God is not tangible. I can hold this. I can drink this. I can hold this. I can read this. This is things that are tangible. We're in that movement where things got to be quick, hit the button, and we receive things. But God is omnipresent. He's all around us. He's always here, but he's not tangible. But once you find that spiritual grounding, that book, that spiritual guidance that just breaks down all the years of callousness because of hate, because of abuse, whether it be verbal, whether it be physical, when you start to unpack that and be able to let these loving words and just integrity and accountability come into your heart, you'll start to hear them. You'll start to see them in everything that goes around you. And that is very, very important, not only for women. Women is very important for you, but let's be real. Let's talk about our men. Our men are killing themselves. They are killing other people. They are killing children. I mean, it goes both ways. And as being men, we have to be the head of the household. We have to be that strong point. People always sit there and wonder why it seems like the women are wearing the pants in certain situations. Is because you are supposed to be the one that guide them. How are you going to get mad at her if you're not doing what you need to do in order to guide her? That starts from within. You got to break yourself down in order to guide a woman. A lot of women are seeking guidance, but if they don't feel comfortable, if they don't have that security, how is that going to happen? Spiritual grounding must be met. That starts in the home front. Then once you get yourself grounded in your home, you start working on your community. Who are some other people, the boys on the block, the boys on the corner? Who's some young thugs around there that is up to no good, in and out of juvie systems, in and out of prison, that you can sit there and just talk to, that you can minister to. You can sit down, have a beer, watch a game to, and just mention, what do you think about God? How's your religion? Have you thought about a religion? You don't got to put pressure on them, but you just got to start these conversations. Hey, you want to come to my church with me? And people, church, I don't know if you know, but church culture has changed. Obviously, a lot of people see it. We're not talking about Sunday's best anymore, tap shoes and your best tie and whatever you want to put on. We're talking about coming in joggers and jeans and Jordans, because one thing I want you to remember, and this is one of the scriptures that stuck out to me, Jesus himself was poor. He did not have that gold or that velvet that was distinguished back in the day. He was poor. He was the son of a carpenter. He came as he was. Remember, he washed sinners' feet for the things that they did because he loved them so much. So it doesn't matter what you wear. Go to the building, start church at your own home, in your home with your wife, your kids, but build that spiritual grounding up. Now, when it comes down to awesome fathers, this is very, very important because this is going to allow you, once again, it took my tunnel vision away and allowed me to see everything, see the reason why my son was born this way, why he was given to me, where my heart was when he was given to me. I'm telling you right now, brother, real rap, and this sounds a little dramatic, but if I never would have done that, I definitely think I would have either been in jail or dead by now. Real rap. I definitely would have, because it just being just angry, not being able to express myself, always wanting to be in competition with other men and other people and what they're doing, jealous, envy, everything. I don't hold none of that in my heart. You can ask plenty of people. And I put it all on paper so they can understand that there are people out there in the world that are going through the same thing as you and has come over it. But it starts with that spiritual grounding. Build your foundation, get your pillars in order, which is your family, your community, bring them together, which will be the roof. Open your doors. That's everybody in the world. That's your heart. Open your heart. Let them explore who this new person is, this new man is that you're about to become and about to embrace others with.
Man, Jamiel, thank you for all the gems, bro. Can you please plug in where the people can find you, how they can support you, all the things that you're doing, any promo that you have, please, bro?
All right. So first off, support the book. This is Life is a Puzzle. Guy gave you a cheat sheet. It's a 15-day devotional for awesome fathers. Just gives my life experiences and puts it towards biblical principles. This is on Amazon right now, so go support that. My second book is coming out, and this is a mental health book. It's mental health. In the time of my depression because of a breakup, and other things in my life, I went to photography. I went to poetry. God was able to bless me with an eye in words to put it down on paper. And I entered in contests and people were buying my stuff. So I'm putting out a book to explain where my heart was and what I saw, to be able to help other individuals that are in depression right now, who have anxiety, things that are going on in their life. Proceeds, 50% of the proceeds that I make from that second book will go to a center or organization that helps those individuals with suicide and just mental health. So I want to put that out there. So please support that. That will be coming soon. The Awesome Show. So my platform is my baby since 2018. You can find that on Instagram and Facebook. And that's TheAusomeshow. So it's both Instagram and also Facebook. I'm about to start on Clubhouse as well, get some shows, get some lectures going on so we can talk about some things. And if you need to email me, and I'm serious about this, you need to talk, brothers, men. And I wore this shirt. Look, real men need real men. This is a shirt I got from a church. I received an award. If you need to talk, you need to hit me up. I'm an imperfect person. But my job here on this planet is to make sure that you don't go down the same path that I went down. What that means is that I'm going to give it to you 100% real. But when I give it to you, please take that cup, drink what I got to tell you, ingest it, and go home and make the changes that you need necessary, because we don't want to waste each other's time. Talk to me. You can reach me by email, theawesomeshow@gmail.com, TheAusomeshow@gmail.com. I'm gonna stop there because I can wrap your head off all day, and I don't want to waste no more of the time. But
listen, you good, man.
I got one more message to say is that
go ahead.
As Black and brown men in our community, in our environment, somewhat, we have the opportunity to make a statement, just like you have, brother, just like I'm doing, so many other brothers that are doing. We have the opportunity to make a statement. Don't let that statement be about yourself. Let that statement be about everybody else in the world, because civilization is going to go on when you're done, when you left. So what did you do right now? What are you doing right now to further the civilization that will be the future for your kids, for your grandkids, for those individuals that you will never meet in your lifetime because you'll be dead? That's what you need to focus on. You a millionaire? Great. I'm happy for you. No love lost. But what are you doing for the communities that need your assistance right now? If you're good with your words, what are you doing to help tutor the youth that's in your community to help them out? It can start right there. So I implore every single man to step up and really be a head of household, not just something you check off on your tax time. All right. Get it cracking right now. All right.
You heard him, Jamiel. Thank you so much, bro, for dropping all the gems. I appreciate the work you do, and I appreciate you coming on the podcast and just speaking to us, man.
Thank you, man.
Yo, I'm excited, man. We're currently building the exclusive community, and it's going to have so many dope features. We're partnering with a Black organization to offer low-cost therapy to each member of the exclusive community. And when I say low cost, I mean that members will be able to get therapy sessions for less than $50, regardless of who they are and where they are. We're also going to have free ebooks and courses, including both the Hurting to Healing ebook and the therapy ebook I'm currently writing, live podcast episodes where you'll be able to interact with the guest and I in real time, community forums, exclusive merch, and categorized content so you can easily find information that may be useful to you. So go to expressyourselfblackman.com/therapy and register for early access. It's literally a 30-second process. I just need your name, email, and social media handle to make sure you get access before anyone else. And before I dip, I just want to thank you for your support. Without people like you, none of this would be possible. I can't wait to see you when we launch.
Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. Shoulder to lean on somebody you could preach to. No, you need to hear it, my brother, I love you. We got way too much to live for.